Welcome home, daddies. Welcome home, daddies. Welcome home, daddies.
Hey, daddies. Welcome to the Football Team League podcast, where we talk about the most important thing in our lives, more important than our friendships, our families, our marriages. This is Bree Beer, fantasy league enthusiast. My husband's team is doing so poorly that I'm taking over for him, and I don't know jack shit about football. So this is going to be great.
Bree, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Daddies, so sorry about that. Not sure. She hates this league, and she hates that I spend all my time doing this. She just wanted to talk to Aaron while I was myself using the little boy's room. And little boy is what I am. But I've got a freaking man here with me today, and it's not your commish. I missed you guys, and I've got Mr. 7-1, Mr. Unstoppable, Mr. Easy Breezy, tertiary co-host, Aaron Zitch.
Your boy is back, and shout out Bree Beer. I actually think, regardless of her fantasy football expertise, Bree Beer might actually be able to manage the Asheville Amphetamines a little bit better than Blake Clatterbuck.
Maybe not better necessarily, but not any worse. I think that she could have the knowledge she does, which is literally zero, except for Justin Fields, because I talk about him enough and he's irrelevant right now. And she would be able to manage this with zero knowledge and get at least one of these wins.
If you get bored at the bottom of the standings, you might as well try some experiments and see if she can run this team any better. So I don't know. You might
it's really
a couple of teams around the league are making changes. It might be time for the amphetamines.
I mean, would I be the first team, definitely the first team in this league, probably not ever. I'm sure somebody else has done this, but if I brought her on as my assistant coach, my assistant manager, maybe that's the next step here. But I have been playing around with changing my name to the Assville Amphetamines. And honestly, not because I'm ass, or not because I am the ass. It's just because my team is absolute ass, even though I don't think we are, but we're going to get into that in just a second. I apologize that we took a little time off, but that was, I did not have time, had a lot of work stuff coming down, and was a little sicky boy too in some of the off weeks we have. We might have some snippets of some stuff we had Glenn on in our off week. The chitter chatter is a little bit, and the analysis is a little outdated at this point, so don't want to waste your time or our time with that if we only have one person that's going to listen, and that would be Aaron. We might throw some of those tidbits in there. We'll see.
Well, and I will say we're recording this on the day after Halloween, so happy Halloween to you, daddies.
Boo.
Maybe some of you are going to get a little fright from this week's recap, but some of you might be getting a little treat, a little goodie bag handed to you when we look back on how this week went. But despite
you had your, speaking of Halloween, you guys had a little get together, which historically I have seen people enjoy Malort there. I would say enjoy, some would say hate. Did you have any this year?
There was, unfortunately, without a Blake Clatterbuck, there is no bottle of Malort, unfortunately.
We have a surprise guest daddy, real quick. Hey, Peyton Bennett, how are you? This is Blake and Aaron. You are on the Draft Daddy podcast right now. What's going on?
Hey, am I actually on?
We're in the middle of recording right now.
Oh, shit.
Since you're a surprise guest, since you just happened to call at this time, do you got anything you want to say to the daddies? This is your platform, surprise platform.
Let's seriously discuss the reality at hand that
all right, well, it was fun having you on today. Speaking, that was nice. I don't think we've ever had a surprise guest daddy. That was just some crazy timing. Yes, sad about the Malort. I was in Chicago this last week for work. That was part of the reason I could not get the podcast out. And man, I went full Chicago mode. I went to a cigar bourbon lounge, ate 4 Italian beefs. Unfortunately, nobody. I had so many Goose Island beers,
Any
a
dog?
bunch of old style.
Chicago
Oh,
dog?
dogs! I had 2 dogs. Yeah, throughout the course of the week, it was fantastic.
Full experience.
But no Malort. We didn't have Malort, so it feels kind of like we both need a little Malort in our lives. Nobody would take a shot of Malort with me, and I wouldn't do it on my own.
I need some. I don't know how you can go be in Chicago. No one will take a shot of Malort with you. Well, it's,
We were at places like the Capitol Grill, a little too high class, I think.
mm,
But my opinion is that Malort is the highest of class in Chicago. So, what would you have? What was your Malort moment
looking
in the past few weeks? Yeah.
looking back on this last week, my Malort moment, as it has been for many weeks, is injuries, and it is one in particular. And I'm going to talk about Kirk Cousins' explosive performance, and not his football performance, but his Achilles performance.
Achilles.
Poor guy,
Man.
poor guy in a contract year. Looked like he might have been traded. The Vikings were going to invest a lot into turning this year around. And Kirk Cousins goes down with another Achilles. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers reached out to him to give him some support. But really, for that Vikings.
Oh, how's he going to support him with his Achilles? Come on.
Hey, honestly, though, the relationship that Aaron Rodgers has with science is insane, because this man is already doing dropbacks on the football field. So Kirk Cousins needs to get with
and not taking COVID vaccines.
That's what I'm saying. He's got some relationship with science. He can figure this out. So get with Aaron Rodgers' doctor, and maybe Kirk will be back by playoff time. But that has just a major impact on a lot of players. Even when Justin Jefferson comes back, Josh Dobbs is now throwing the ball. Jordan Addison, he's on my team. He's had really an explosive year, and he's got so many touchdowns. TJ Hawkinson, like Josh Dobbs has now more weapons, so I'm hoping he can perform. But I'm intrigued by the fantasy implications of Kirk Cousins going down. And man, I feel for the guy. Really, really good story of him with the Vikings, but tough result this past week. We'll see how this impacts them down the road. Tough luck.
Yeah, very tough luck. In a year where really, except for the Bears and probably the Pack, I mean, the division was open. I mean, it was Detroit, and Detroit seems to have a pretty good stranglehold on it, but they weren't out of the question by any means, and this may do it. But well, that's tinkering into my perfect pour, but I need some Malort first. And my Malort moment is, and Brandon hinted at it, but I'm just going to go with the Chicago Bears. I'm just going to go with our coaching staff in general, but we lost our running backs coach, and I can only assume that it's due to maybe he's breaking their ankles in the back room or something. I don't know. Just because we couldn't keep anybody healthy. And man, you want to just talk about the Bears they fired their running back coach, and fire is the only way that you can describe the Bears this year. And not in the good way, in the dumpster kind of way. Yeah. It's a dumpster fire. And we've accepted that, but it's very, very Bears focused, but I was going to go with some more Achilles pain with you as well. But if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in to a little Goose Island perfect pour.
Yeah.
Chicago style.
Let's drink it up.
And this goes right along with yours. I'm going to go with Joshua Dobbs getting a permanent, semi-permanent, hopefully permanent position here in the NFL. And I'm going to, along with that, I'm going to go with, in this last week, Will Levis. Tannehill he's been his back against the ropes for a while. He's been on his way out. And then Levis stepped in, and he had a pretty great first week considering. And maybe this is what the Titans need. They're also in one of those situations where it's kind of a wide open division and anything could happen. Yeah,
Will Levis has a great performance. I've actually on Twitter this week, I've seen a lot of the and you might be able to splice this in here, but the Joe Biden Minnesota clip.
Would you shut up, man?
In reference to all of Ryan Tannehill, Josh Dobbs, and Jameis Winston on their next location. So I was actually really rooting for Jameis to be Minnesota's new quarterback. So
That would've been
It has
interesting.
been Joshua Dobbs, who is relocating to the cold, windy north. So my quick perfect pour, despite the quarterbacks, this was a great week for a lot of wide receivers who have underperformed all year. There are three in particular that I wanted to highlight who had kind of breakout games. One of which, beneficiary of Will Levis's first career start and 4 touchdowns, DeAndre Hopkins. 3 touchdowns on only 4 receptions. Talk about efficiency. DeAndre
Yeah.
Hopkins, another person who had who has been underperforming, but that's because his teammate is also having an amazing year, is Devontae Smith. Had a great game this past week. And then the guy that we thought that was going to get reduced workload and in a pretty bad offense with a bad quarterback is CeeDee Lamb. Had a 35-point week. So if you benefited from one of these wide receivers this week, you likely had a really good week. I know that unfortunately Devontae Smith's owner played me this week, so unfortunately he did not. Common theme between those 3 wide receivers, I have to say, was the D. Devontae, CD, and DeAndre. So you got more D in your life, you're catching touchdowns. You got more D, but you're better off.
You want to talk about CD's now had what back-to-back weeks, I believe, of being in the top 3 weeks now of just being high performing comparatively to how he was early on in the season. And that makes me happy for him, I guess. Great for Jack. That's fantastic. You also mentioned Devonta Smith, right?
Yep.
Yeah. What's crazy about that is with what did he have? He had 19 some points. And he still got and AJ Brown still outscored him. My previous my weapon that I turned into 2 mediocre players, but and he still outscored him, which is kind of insane. He's having an absolute all-star year, which if you looked at the first couple games of the year, you didn't know how it's going to happen. So.
Well, we alluded to it, so let's jump right into the matchup recaps. And first up,
if you would like to, that's fine.
The Asheville Amphetamines and the Chicago Dogs. What's going on?
Not much. So we had a little. I don't think that we have had a podcast since the good old trade drama. There are a couple things that you can know if I pick you up, or if you're anywhere on my roster. You have like a 1 in 8 chance of getting injured. Like you're the odds of you getting, I mean, last week I'm not going to blame it on it, but Tyrod Taylor going out halfway through the second. Now he wasn't going to throw up tons of points anyway, but it would have hopefully been more than 3. Like if you can sprinkle an 8 touchdown or maybe a few more yards, something to Saquon with that stack that I had, like. That would have helped me out. So just going in there. Can't wait to see. I picked up. I was just talking about him, but I picked up Levis as well. Assuming Field isn't back, he may be soon. But yeah, this is a rough one. I was 6 overall. Just the matchup that kind of hurt. I guess I really piss poor second half for Josh Jacobs on Monday night for me to. He started out the gate just. Really things were looking up. Things were looking great. And last thing I'll say on this one is sitting there having to watch this game and watch the Bears and Chargers on some wonderful Sunday Night Football, which haven't gotten to do that. I was hanging out with my brother. We were carving pumpkins. It was a good time, good vibes. All I'm thinking is, you know what? The Bears just have to be mediocre and not let Austin Eckler score. And that didn't happen a couple times. So that is my rant, and we have accepted that we have a less than meaning me and Bree, my new assistant manager. We've accepted our fate as we are probably not making the playoffs, and we are less than 1% chance of making the playoffs. Without some divine intervention, not going to happen. And we'll be playing in the consolation bracket, but our goal is to get out early and save that for somebody else. It's not our season. These things happen. It's taken some therapy.
It's okay to ask for help. Find a licensed therapist at BetterHelp.com.
There's always next year. Just try not to lose. So Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, thanks for, by the way, this is my therapy, and thank you for letting me vent all of that out. You got anything on this one? I know I just went through it all.
Tyrod Taylor, 8 yards passing. It's going to be a highlight or low light. Unfortunately, left the game. Quarterback issues, not your friend. I will say my my rule of thumb for maybe a successful week in fantasy football is if my team, every person on my team can score 10 points or more, I feel good for that
Yeah.
week. That's a great week. And I look at your team and I see that happening pretty much aside from Tyrod Taylor. That's a very winnable week.
Yep.
As you said, it's the difference in a George Pickens touchdown. George Pickens didn't do anything but catch a touchdown. I'm actually going to highlight something else too on the Chicago Dogs. Austin Eckler has been an awful rusher since he's come back. He's been horrible. 29 yards rushing, saved. The 19.8 is a little bit misleading. Saved by 94 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown. So Austin Eckler serving in that receiving role kind of maintains his value, but has been a terrible rusher, and the Dogs have been have been burnt by Austin Eckler and that rushing. So a lucky week this week, but something to watch moving forward is, can Austin Eckler get it done on the ground? Jalen Hurts, great, amazing performance, 319 and 4 touchdowns. The rest of the Dogs team really only, no one really exceeding their expectations. Tough week for the amphetamines. I don't know what else to say, but we need some divine intervention. We need Justin Fields back. We need a couple things to go right here, buddy.
Yeah, I'm just going to say my mission for the rest of the season until we get to the playoff time. Like I said, unless something crazy happens and everybody else's star players go down and I've got a chance, which is not going to happen, is two things. One, to get a win in the next 2 weeks, because our worst record throughout the course of a season, not to finish, but is 2-8 by Victor in our inaugural season, 21. So I got to get a win before week 10. One more win to at least tie it. I would love to have 2 wins, so I'm not there too, but want to avoid that one best we can. And we're here to break some hearts, okay? We're here to play ball buster, and that's what we're going to try and do.
Well, speaking of busting balls, we got Room 40 against Victor in this next matchup. Room 40, I've been singing his praises all year. I'm just going to say it. 3 wins in a row. This man went from 0-5, our down bad daddy, swapped places with the ass. This dude is 3-5 now, kind of making a little bit of a run and putting up 132 points with it too.
Yeah. Not to, this is all I'll say about it. I'll give you the majority of this one, but we've talked about a few highlights in this matchup already. Curious what he's going to do with Kirk Cousins, obviously. But outside of that, when I was looking for trade opportunities, he was a key contender because he needed some depth at wide receiver. I needed some depth everywhere except for wide receiver, and it worked out, and it has worked out in his favor, and that makes me happy. I'm happy for him that AJ Brown could come in and do that. I'll take an assist on one of these wins anytime AJ Brown is doing well and Josh Jacobs is falling apart. On top of that, Lamar on Victor's side was not doing Lamar things this last week, but he did have he had Tyreek still doing Tyreek things. And man, can we talk about Miami real quick? How fun are they this year?
It's so much fun. Tyreek claimed he wants to be the first 2,000 yard receiver, and I truly think he's going to be able to do it.
I do too. It's pretty. They're a fun team, and I think we've sent a few things back and forth about Mike McDaniel. We talked about him a lot, and just a fun guy, fun team, fun to watch this year. Kind of the opposite of the defense that he has here, which is the Jaguars. Yeah. What do you see here?
Yeah, I've been singing Room 40's praises. He puts up 130. 130 is going to win you just about every week in this league. Kamara has been electric since he came back, catching so many passes. Had 2 touchdowns, one on the ground this week. AJ Brown has been incredible. He's the wide receiver 2, only to Tyreek Hill, and it's pretty close. Kirk Cousins unfortunately goes down. I believe that Matt has picked up Derek Carr in replacement.
Okay.
So we'll see if Derek Carr can kind of return to his former self. He's playing Chicago this next week, so he's likely going to look like prime time Tom Brady. So great pickup by Room 40. Again, started out 0-5. He's been making moves. He's switched things up, and I really think that he's got kind of a winning recipe here. So tough look for Vic again when Lamar Jackson doesn't perform and his running backs don't hit the end zone. It's going to be a hard week. Gabe Davis, I say it week over week. I can't believe he's still scoring touchdowns. I am the biggest Gabe Davis hater, and he proves me wrong week over week. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough for Vic this week. So room 40, room 40's wins. Room 40's wins. I'm all team room 40, and I want to see him in the playoffs.
Yeah, I do too. And I was going to point out that if he makes the playoffs in week 12 expected, he'll have Kyron Williams back. And that's a scary team.
Yep.
That is a scary team. Well, if he can figure something out with quarterback, we'll see. Can we just talk real quick about Denver knocking off Kansas City this week, 24-9. And I know people say Mahomes had the flu or whatever, but so did Michael Jordan.
Predictions on the first two matchups. So for the amphetamines and dogs, Kamish predicted correctly, and Ass got it wrong. For Room 40 and Victor, both of them got it wrong. So Kamish is 1-1, Ass is 0-2. Moving on to the G Train Rats and the death of the PP. Another overperformance here. The Rats put up 126. This is tough for the PP. He has been battling, at the bottom with the Ass, and this week was not a whole lot different. Just no one showed up for his team aside from Dak, which honestly amazing that Dak has been performing as well as he has. But aside from Michael Pittman, no one else scored more than 10.2, and Michael Pittman only put up 14. Indy defense, -6. I just, tough look when Travis Kelce doesn't perform. Olave doesn't get touches. Brian Robinson, 59 yards. Jonathan Taylor didn't get used in the second half. It was just a tough week for PP, only putting up 83.66. G-Train, great week, 126. He had DeAndre Hopkins finally go off. I mentioned it earlier. He had 3 touchdowns on 4 catches, which is incredible efficiency. Joshua Dobbs also had a great week, putting up 26 yards on the ground and also having a rushing touchdown. Josh Dobbs, we'll see how he does in Minnesota for the Rats, but Rats finally had a pretty high scoring game. His defense and kicker, 24 points total as compared to PP's 2 points total. So just a good week, a well-performing week for G-Train. I can't say much else, but got a lot out of DeAndre, and that's great.
Yeah, and he'll be getting Acham back here in a couple of weeks, hopefully, and that'll help him out a lot. Still could be in the man. It's weird seeing every Green Bay player questionably startable, and like Aaron Jones. I was trying to trade for Aaron Jones with him when he was injured. That is unfortunate, and see Kareem Hunt kind of take over as the lead back for Jerome Ford. I mean, maybe he'll be a goal line rusher, but not looking like it. Upside for PP real quick is Jonathan Taylor seems to be getting his utilization's up, and he's getting back acclimated to the league and playing. So I would expect some bigger numbers. I think that this gamble, while the PP is playing around with the ass at the bottom, you like that?
I had a little giggle. Yep, that was good.
But yeah, Jonathan Taylor could be his saving grace from maybe a little bit. I still think we can get G-Train there. And right now, insert something from Glenn from last week.
These flaming libs over here.
All right. Predictions for this one. I was wrong again. I got to fully admit, I didn't look at the matchups this week. I looked at names and I was like real quick because Seb needed it. And I was in the middle of a conference. So I was wrong. And also the commish was wrong. So not a great week for predictions thus far.
Bad week for predict. Speaking of the ass and the PP playing around at the bottom, let's talk about the Cox. Let's talk about the Cox playing around down there. So unfortunately,
yeah, what the heck, man? What's going on, Curbs?
Tough week for
once a powerhouse.
Truly. And he's dropped, I'm not sure, he's dropped a couple in a row here. So 88 points on the week. You expect Raheem Mostert, we've gotten accustomed to putting up 20 to 30 every week, and he only puts up 10.6. That's it. Davante Adams, we could go on and on about how bad that Raiders offense is. I've been trying to trade Cox all year for Davante Adams, and he's shut me down. I've offered him up a couple of options, and he's shut me down, and I don't blame him. But now he's probably looking back and saying, man, maybe I should have taken some of those trades. So a good week from TJ Hawkinson, but that's about it. Nobody else overperforming. Garrett Wilson eclipsed 100 yards, which is great for him. But tough week. And Keegs, who has been a relatively underperformer this year, he's our lowest scorer in the league. Again, story after story, week after week, Josh Allen, does he show up? If yes, Team Keegs wins. If no, Team Keegs loses. 29 points from Josh Allen. Good week from the Giants defense. Javonte Williams, again, Denver goes off. Not a whole lot of other performers. I could say one of the most underperforming players in NFL fantasy after being hyped up so much this year is Tony Pollard. Keegs, I loved him coming out of the draft. I thought it was an amazing pick. Has not gotten a touchdown this year, has been incredibly underutilized, has been incredibly inefficient. Actually, he had 2 touchdowns in the first game.
No, he had 2 touchdowns. Yeah. But after that, after week 1, he looked pretty rough.
He has not.
He lost his. Yeah, they were the prime. Him and Zeke were kind of the quintessential, because a lot of teams are going to this two plus back system, which is working for them. It's horrible for fantasy, but they are an example of that. And you remove one of those pieces. Now you don't have. Zeke would lose points constantly to Tony Pollard, and Pollard ended up being the number 1 guy. Well, without Zeke's support, he's not quite as great. And I think we're kind of seeing that happen a little bit with New England, and I think we'll get into that in a second. But with Zeke and Stevenson, as he's getting a little bit stronger. But yeah, really rough week for Cox. But both these teams, they were real close to one another. Cox was the 11th lowest scoring, along with Keegs being the 9th. So this matchup, at least, they're not sitting here in 6th and with a loss. But it was a rough week. Hang on, let me pull up the box score. You were calling Cox. This is 3 L's in a row. He went loss, then 4 wins, and now he's on 3 losses in a row. And I also was playing the trade game with him. I was going for Mostert or Dameon Pierce. And man, Curbs, if you listen to this, I would wonder what would happen if you would have done those trades. You'd be maybe sitting a little differently. But nonetheless, yeah, he's got some point scores with Hawk and Wilson. Good to see him scoring again, but underwhelming nonetheless. Both of us wrong again. That's 3-4 in a row for me. You want to talk about 3 in a row losing?
If you're keeping count at home, that's 0-4 for Ass so far. He's just about as good as his fantasy team is at predictions. So, all
right, well, let's see if I'll get a win. Let's see if I can get a win here. And you know who else got a win in this game was the commish, who had a huge week. Massive week. He was the number 2 point scorer on the week, but a massive week nonetheless at 156 over Jacksonville, who was in a very similar position as me. Not a terrible week for him, except for his point spread is kind of all over the place. He had CD showing up, but Stephon Diggs was not up to par where you would expect him, especially against Tampa Bay on a Thursday. And I already mentioned this, but Tua, you want to talk about just consistency week after week. Yes, he's had a few blow up weeks, but fun Miami team along with it. But let's talk about the winning side. Jahmyr Gibbs. Holy shit. Herbert, you knew he was going to have a big game. Go ahead.
When you feed the bell cow, this is what the Cowboys and what Seb have been waiting on all year. You give Jahmyr Gibbs touches, he's gonna get yards. I saw a lot out there this week about Jahmyr Gibbs finally getting the touches that he deserves, and he should be that bell cow in Detroit. 27 points. And if you look at Kamish's team all around, he had 4 20-point scorers, plus an 18, plus a 15, plus a 13, and then his kicker and defense scored 16 total. That's a hell of a week. 156, that'll win you just about every game.
He is, not to take away from you, but he is the hottest team in the league right now with 4 back-to-back wins. And I'm happy for him. I wish he was here that he could say, no, actually, I'm glad he's not, because he would just, rub it in our
It would
faces,
all
rub it
go
in
to
mine
his
at least.
head.
But
It would all, if Kamish, if you're listening, we know it all goes to your head. Shout out to him. He's the top scorer in the league right now. So he's the top scoring team. 156 helped a lot. His team looks scary, and he's even got Smith and Jigba, who's finally coming online on his bench, and Dalton Kincaid, who with Dawson Knox out now on the IR, Dalton Kincaid's going to keep getting
gonna be big.
more playtime. Sam Laporta, though, he loved Sam Laporta. His Detroit stack also had an amazing game. So Seb's team is scary, man.
It's scary, and it's getting maybe even scarier. I went into he beat me on it on the waivers, but Leonard Fournette is jumping in with the Bills, right?
Yep.
And there's some potential there. He is in my opinion, a borderline tier 1 running back when he's at his best performance. So if they can get him online, that could be a big game changer late in the season. So we'll have to see what happens. But with Josh Allen and the Bills just kind of underperforming where they are, good pickup, Kamish. Good win, Kamish. Anything else you want to call out on this one?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Lenny fits into that Buffalo offense with James Cook already running the rock. So I'll be intrigued to see what happens. I don't even know if Kamish has room for Leonard Fournette in his lineup. So great pickup. I think he's going to ride the bench, but scary team nonetheless.
Scary team nonetheless. You know who else is a scary team? Jonathan Taylor's coming online, but this team has been online the whole freaking season. At 7-1, you yourself and you're the only one, and you have I believe you have a 2-game cushion. Man, you've got to be feeling real good, and especially with this last week, 178.5. So why don't you? I'll give this to you because this was a big one. Even though you didn't need all those points, I think you beat him more than 2 times.
I did double him. So I was catering a wedding this weekend on Sunday, and I kept looking at my watch and it said touchdown. I kept looking at my watch and it said touchdown, and I kept looking at my watch and it said touchdown over and over again. And I kept thinking, wow, this is an insane week that's happening. And I said it earlier. My benchmark for a good week is if everyone on my team can score an average 10. My team did that. Even my defense and kicker put up 12 and 16. And then my next lowest score was 12.5. Everybody else was almost eclipsing 20. Sam Howell, my God, 31, top quarterback on the week, number 3 player on the week. McCaffrey and ETN performed as expected, 26 and 24. Actually, technically, boom weeks for both of them. Deontay Johnson, my lowest scorer aside from my kicker and defense, had 14 targets. He produced only 8 receptions, on 14 targets. That's the type of volume you want out of a wide receiver one. This is a week that I didn't expect in fantasy, but my God, it was a fun week to play this team.
Yeah,
and it is officially the highest scoring week in DDFFL history. Wow! So to give you quickly a top 5.
Sorry, Aaron, I'm gonna cut you off for 1 second. I know you have top 5, and you manually went through and did all this, and I commend you for that, Mr. Hands-on data. I love that. I'll give you the top, or I'll give you 6 through 10, and then why don't you run the last 5, because 2 scores broke through in this week, and impressive nonetheless. So that would be the first 5. So E-Dog in year 1 had 149. Chris Boylan in year 1 in week 11 had 152. Then Keegs had 154 last year. That was a crazy performance from Keegs last year. He's got 2 of these. And then this one from last week at 7 is Mr. Seb, Mr. Kamish from this last week. So he had a huge week, big week in points for our co-host staff. Then myself at 6 from last year, the Excel Extraordinaire, with nearly 158.46. And and then where are we going after that?
Yeah, so top 5, our top 5 highest scoring teams in history. Team Keegs, 159.82 in week 14 of 2021. He had Josh Allen put up 35, Dalvin Cook put up 34. Myself, I had a really great performance in week 2 of our first season. I started off hot. Devil wins down to Georgia, 164.18. That was my Derrick Henry 3 touchdown performance, 44, and Aaron Jones put up 38. This was an incredible week. Number 3, Crangies Make Basketball. It's a name we haven't heard in a long time. Brandon has since left the league, but put up, before he left, 165 in week 14 of 2021. His kicker and defense combined for 41, which is incredible. And he had Tom Brady put up 30. And then
Yeah, that if I recall correctly, that was a semifinal game too, or no, one out from that. But yeah, it was a playoff win. I remember that, and it was impressive.
big playoff win. And second place, which was not a playoff win. It was actually the consolation in week 17 of 2021. The Cincinnati Barflies, Peyton Bennett put up 178.24. This was Jamar Chase's three touchdown, 12 reception, 240 whatever yard. He had the Chase Burrow stack that week, who combined for about 85 points. And it was just eclipsed by 0.24 points this past week with the tailor-made $42 million in week 8 of 2023.
Yeah. Sometimes you have these weeks. What's impressive to me about this is that real quick to call out to Peyton, I believe that was the game to Barry Glenn in year 1.
I do think,
and he buried Glenn in fantastic fashion, because I remember Peyton that year saying, "I don't deserve to be here. I shouldn't be here." He had a bad run, and then that happened to finish him off. So yeah, you called this out. You said you were 19.8 per player on your starting roster. You're 7-1. We have had one other team, and that was Seb from year 1. He got all the way to week 12 before taking a second loss. Do you think you can do it?
I'm hopeful. I love my team. I'm going into a bye week of ETN, McCaffrey, and Kittle being off my roster this upcoming week. After that week, I don't think anybody's stopping it. So, if I can make it past this next week, I feel pretty good. So we'll see.
You know how I said that the Asphil amphetamines are here to play ball busters. So just letting you know, you've got Glenn on your bye week. Then you got Vic. Could be a questionable matchup. That one could be rough. Then you got RAP Trayvon Diggs. But then in week 12, if you can make it that far without taking a second loss, you've got the Asphil amphetamines, okay?
We're feeling good.
I would love to be this ball buster, except for I don't know if I would. You're the co-host I like. So, all right, let's get into what is it? Oh, hang on. I got an alarm going off real quick. Oh, yeah. Aaron, can you read what that alarm says?
It says, let me get real close.
Yeah. What's that say?
Is it a matchup of the week trigger? Is that what that is?
Yeah. Okay. Fuck yeah. What the else?
It's the matchup of the week, bitches!
Wow. I'm not editing any of that. There was no alarm. All right. Matchup of the week. What do you think about this one?
What a fucking horrible matchup, dude. This was awful. Okay. Peyton and Chris. This was fucking horrible. Peyton, you won this matchup with 83.38 points. You would have lost to every
other team
in this league. You would have lost to any of these teams. PP, Rats, the amphetamines. You would have lost to every single one of these teams, and you still somehow beat Chris. What does that say, Chris? You're a reigning scoring champ, dude.
2 years. 2 years, buddy.
And you're putting up 78. You need to get somebody in this locker room, man. You need to go pick up somebody off the waivers that's going to be a locker room guy and get this team hyped up. I'm going to say it. Your kicker and defense scored 29 of your 78 points. Your skill position guys aren't doing shit. Okay?
Yeah.
We need to get, Pat Mahomes, flu game, whatever, but my God, no, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players. Your top 6 players are under 10 points. Sorry, they're all under 7.5. That's not going to win you ever. So
no, it's not. I don't. Yeah, it's tough, and I don't have. I think that maybe we leave this matchup of the week at that, because this is about. We'll give this matchup of the week the respect that it deserves. I don't think this is a telltale sign of how RIP. He's not RIP'd yet. He's 4-4. This would have been a big week for him. Big week for either of them to get the win. But he just, God, it's just so bad. number one out of these two teams, the number one scoring player was Gus Edwards for the second week in a row. And you know what? Like I said, happy for him. But yeah, just piss poor performance by these two teams. Literally, they are number 13 and 14, the very bottom of the league in this last week. And yeah, it was a lucky break to whoever made this happen this week. But nonetheless, how many times did you lap them? Let's see. How many points did they have this week?
Ooh, I did double.
78. You doubled these two. How many teams did you double just in general this week? I think that's your limit right there.
At least.
Oh, and PP and Cox. Wow. Yeah, you doubled the bottom 5 teams.
5 teams.
And you doubled both these teams and then some. Yep. With room to spare.
I will point out, the Crawdaddies left about 65 points on their bench. Okay. It comes down to a little bit of management. Shaheed had 3 massive catches against the Colts. And Joe Burrow had a great game, and Amon-Ra was over 100 yards. A little bit of management here and there. He got the win. That's all you need. Beat the guy in front of you each week. But Chris, get somebody in this locker room. Dallas defense is your top scorer. We got something going on. Let's make some changes here, Chris.
Any lasting words that you have on this one? I don't have anything else in the match for the week except for be fucking better. Okay.
Yep. That's it. Just you guys, reflect a little bit. You're sitting on the toilet shitting in the morning. Just think about why you're here, why you're playing in this league.
All I have to say is that I'm 1-7 and I'm embarrassed for you guys. So.
Tough week. You're 1-7. They're in the middle of the pack. They still got something to fight for. You got hope. The two of you got hope. It's a tough. So my final word for you, daddies, is there's a lot of opportunities still in the middle of this pack. We got 5 or 6 teams sitting at 5-3, a couple of teams sitting at 4-4, a couple of teams on the fringe at 3-5. And aside from a couple of outliers, the majority of you are still right in the middle. So. Make moves. Don't be afraid to make moves. But keep the energy up, and let's keep striving for the playoffs. I'm really looking forward to playing one of you in the second round of the playoffs. So we'll see who that is.
Yeah. As it stands right now, projected standings has RIP Trayvon Diggs with that loss just outside of the making the playoffs, but does get the Crawdaddies in there, and Crawdaddies stay positive, I'll say, for the rest of the season. Real quick, Kirby had asked for this a couple weeks ago, so we're just going to run through it real fast. Power rankings by Fantasy Pros. We are not sponsored, but we should be. Hawaii Wildfire for the rest of the season, number 1. Number 2 for power ranking.
They ranked me way too low last time we did this. Keep going.
Yeah, no, they've ranked you higher now than you were, but this is just power rankings, not based on schedule. It's based on the rest of the season. How well does your team match up? And you have a lot of buys coming up, so that's probably part of the reason. Wildfire kind of gotten through a lot of those. So is RIP Trayvon Diggs, which is number 2. Crawdaddies at 3. So that's crazy ironic, the flip that they had there. Maybe just an off week. Then yourself at 4, Victorville at 5, Room 40 at 6, Sir Cox-a-Lot 7, Chicago Dogs 8. Death of PP at 9, 10, Team Keegs, 11, myself. Then we got E-Dog, Jacksonville, and the G-Train Rats. All right.
You can cut this out or not, or leave it, but Bob Knight just died. IU coach Bob Knight just passed away. I just got an ESPN notification.
Oh.
Sad.
That is sad. Are we really going to leave on that sad of a note? I think I got to cut that.
I'm a goddamn Boilermaker.
Daddies, first one in the DDFFL chat that hears this they will get a free DDFFL shirt or hat, not DDFFL, podcast specific. So super fun. Fun design. Yeah, it's going to be sexy. You want this thing. First one to send a selfie of yourself on the toilet. No nudity. Make it clean. Send it to the boys. No context. If you want some free merch.
These flaming libs over here.
Daddies, we love you so much. We'll see who it is. We'll keep listening. Listen to the end. We love this. All right. Aaron, love you, buddy. Feel better. Happy Halloween. And Merry Thanksgiving.
Merry Thanksgiving.
Upcoming.
Love you, daddies. Mwah, mwah.
Mwah.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons speak with such a screech. You'll shake and shudder in surprise when you hear these zombies shriek.